Kitchen Couch Podcast. We're feeding the soul one conversation at a time. The Kitchen Couch Podcast. The Kitchen Couch. The Kitchen Couch. We feeding the soul one conversation at a time.
All right, welcome back to a brand new episode of The Kitchen Couch. I'm your host, as you guys can see. We've got a very special guest with us today, who I'll introduce to you guys shortly. I'm excited to have him. It's rodeo time in the H. So in another rodeo, I got on my Stetson. I'm on here. So make sure you guys like, subscribe, share, and make sure you're tuning in weekly. We appreciate those of you that are new followers. We appreciate those of you that have already subscribed. I like to share. Be sure to share this with your people. Welcome to The Kitchen Couch, where we're feeding the soul one conversation at a time. Without further ado, I have to introduce the guest. This is one of those guests I had to write down his intro just so I do him justice. So that's what I'm going to do. I've got a powerful guest today with us on The Kitchen Couch. He's an artist whose voice, creativity, storytelling has taken him from the church pews right here in Houston to stages, studios around the world. This is singer, songwriter, creator, visionary, entrepreneur, Donald D. Paige. I want to welcome him, simply known as Deep to his fans. 3-time Grammy winner. He's 7 times nominated. He's got a really deep musical journey. Started in gospel at the age of 6 before evolving into a career that spans R&B, soul, hip hop, global collaboration. And then as a recent, he's got a brand new genre with his new album, Birthright. And just over the past couple of years, he's evolved into something new, which you guys will talk about that in a few. Over the years, he's shared creative spaces with some of the biggest names in music, including Beyonce, Kanye, John Legend, Yolanda Adams, just to name a few, contributing to vocal, songwriting, creative direction on a lot of major projects. He's also, as a solo artist, he continues to involve his sound. His recent project in 2023, This Shit Can't Wait, Angel Numbers, Frequencies, that was in 2024. And that's leading up to his powerful concept, Birthright, in 2025, which is amazing. That's one of my favorite albums by him. It's a 20-track body of work exploring identity, resilience, legacy, purpose through songs. These are my favorite. We Ain't Gonna Run, Rehabilitated, Go Get Your Life, which all those are my favorite. But it's a beautiful album. Beyond the music, he's also founder of Think Deep Entertainment, where he mentors, develops emerging artists while producing projects, curating cultural experiences that bridge creativity, spirituality, and community. So today on The Kitchen Couch, we're going to dive into the journey from Houston roots to Grammy-winning collaborations to his latest album, Birthright, and the messaging behind his music. Family, y'all help me welcome Deep to The Kitchen Couch. What's up?
Man, all good.
How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah.
How you doing?
You full?
I'm full. I done came from the kitchen to the couch. This is gonna be called the itis. That's the hashtag.
Yeah. So before we dive into our conversation, we just had vegan burgers. So I made vegan burgers and kale. So the burger is a Beyond Meat base, and I usually cook it different. I don't always make the burgers the same. So this time there was fresh garlic in it, onion, bell peppers. I actually even added a bit of jalapenos in it as well. Chili powder, pepper, salt. And then there's this seasoning. It's a Tennessee seasoning. Not a seasoning, but a marinade that I use. It's kind of spicy, but it's a marinade that you can use a marinade anything with, but that adds a little sweet, spicy to whatever you're cooking if you want to. So I added that to it. And then we did chow cheese on top, which typically it melts when I'm doing pizza, but for some reason on the burgers, it don't melt as much, but chow cheese is good. All plant-based, topped off with guac, pico. Deep likes mustard. Same with me. I'm not a mayonnaise person. Deep likes mustard. Then just a kale salad. It was a wine vinaigrette salad with a little spice to it. So what were your thoughts?
It was good. I was surprised. I'm from the South. We like, H-Town. We barbecue. We get it in. And so I have lived in L.A. for about 15 years prior to moving East Coast. And I remember when the vegan lifestyle became more of a trend.
Yep.
And it was associated with weight. And
True.
so I didn't deal with weight. I always like, well, that's not for me. I
True.
didn't really think about it in that space. And now as I've gotten more intentional about, what I am putting in my body, my health and things like that, those things are now being considered.
Yep.
But I don't want to compromise taste because, again, I'm from H-Town where the food is good.
I agree.
So this was cool. I didn't expect it to be as flavorful, but I'm listening to all that you did, so it makes sense. it's beyond me, y'all. Pause. It was really good. Yeah. I could see me doing this. I think when I was first introduced to some vegan options, I just tried it just from curiosity. Way back in the day, it wasn't as flavorful.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't something that I was subscribed to.
Yep.
But yeah, you killed this one.
Appreciate that. And that was when you say LA, Deep and I were in LA together. He's in New York now, but we met. That's where we met. And I remember the trend, the vegan trend, how it kind of started in Cali and kind of took off around the rest of the country. But that was one of my biggest challenges, with that, when I had to educate myself on plant-based and the difference between just being plant-based and vegan. There's a whole education piece that comes with that, because people that are vegan, it's anything related to an animal, you are prohibited from consuming in any way, whether it's clothes, whether it's food, even honey. Like people that there's this, anything that comes from an animal, they just stay away from it. I'm plant-based. I still do honey. So there's things that I still do. So I'm not vegan in that way, but going back to the taste piece, I was always trying to find something that I'm from the South as well, not from Houston, but from outside of Dallas. And so I'm used to a certain flavor and a certain profile with food. And I'm a big texture person too.
Same.
I like... Yes,
for me.
yes,
Cool.
yes. I like texture. I like spice. And so when I started my journey, I was trying to figure out how to do that. And you can, a lot of things can be plant-based by you simply changing the oil, removing eggs. There's things that you can do. And then there's other binding agents that you can use instead of eggs that are plant-based. That's it's simple as that, or even changing the milk piece.
I like cheese, Doc.
I know, but that's what, did you...
This cheese was good, but I'm interested in how it would work with enchiladas.
Yes, I'll make those to you next time.
Okay.
It is there was an episode, Jag, if you go back and watch the episode with Jag on it. So Jag, shout out to Jag. I love Jag. He came on, and so we did enchiladas, cauliflower rice, and black beans.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, dude, this is the best enchiladas I've ever had in my life.
Okay.
And that's not me tooting my own horn. That was his. You can go watch it. Pull it up.
I'm doing it.
But pull it up. But it does. You don't have to sacrifice anything. You don't. And I think I don't try to recreate meat and that kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's more so around what do you want it to taste like? What do I want it to taste like when I'm eating it? And for me, when I think about enchiladas, I think about how I want them to taste.
Yeah.
And so creamy texture though. I want meat in there. Yeah. There's things that I want in there or some type of protein in there for texture. And so I'll make you some. I do a layered kind of enchilada casserole type.
I'm going to hold you to that.
Yeah. I'll make them next time you come.
And I got to say, another thing that came that had me a little bit resistant, because I admit I was resistant. Not today, but just in general with the idea, was because it came on the backs of health concerns.
Yes.
And I don't thankfully have, many health concerns. And so I always feel that's not for me. Yeah. And you remember that time in LA, during that time, it was a lot of judgment associated with it.
Yep.
You still eating meat, just things like that. And so just the anti in me and not going to be controlled in me, keep me, very distant from that. And I'm interested now when you make the choices. What was that for you? Was it health concerns, or how did you get there? Yeah,
so I talked about this a couple of times, but my mom was diagnosed with bone cancer, and the blood, her even all the way down to her mitochondria, it was producing cancer. So it was at a cellular level, her body started producing cancer. And a lot of it was linked when we went in to get her prognosis and everything, the oncologist was asking us all these questions around, where do you live? Do you garden? Do you have a garden? Do you live on a farm? Are you out like in nature? So what he was essentially getting at is that it's an environmental cancer. And so that's one of the things that they've linked it to, because how it's such it's more common now. We're seeing it in so many people, but at that time it was new to me. It's multiple myeloma. And so it's a blood bone cancer. And because of how it presents and how they're really small cells. So it's very difficult to cure. There's no cure for it at this point. You can manage it and extend life with it. Some people can live a pretty long time with it, depending on how it shows up and presents in their body. But that was me listening to that, I was like, I was already health conscious. I already felt like I was eating clean, and I even had friends that were vegan far longer than I did before I decided to do plant-based. And so I was like, that kind of led me towards like plant-based.
Was it instant?
No, I would do like one day a week. And a lot of it I also wanted to kind of go on this journey with my mom, but she was like, she was like, nope. But I did, like, she loved my chili. So there were things that I would introduce to her. And so I would make like batches of chili and just freeze it and take it to her. Like when she wanted chili, she would just unfreeze it and eat it. But she loved it. So that was like the one thing that it was even collard greens. Like there were things that just I would cook and make for her. So with that started my journey. Like I would do one day all plant-based. And then I would do 2 days a week. And then I would go to 3 days a week. So I just kind of like worked my way into it. But there's a lot of education going into it, because I didn't really know what to eat and how to just kind of manage it, because there's a lot of starches and carbs if you do plant-based. And so when you talk about like the health conscious piece, you have to educate yourself and know your body, because I'll never forget this. So my neighbor, she saw me when we were neighbors. We lived next to each other when I first moved here. V, shout out to V. You guys will meet V at some point. So we're always like brutally honest with each other. She's more brutal than I am. And so I was coming out my apartment one day, and she was coming out hers, and she was like, friend. And I'm like, what's up? She's telling me, you got a little dad body on you right now. And I was like, she was like, that belly. And yo, when she said that, changed everything for me. Cause I was thinking that I was eating healthy and putting healthy things in my body, but I was overdoing it on the starches and the carbs, because I didn't want to just eat raw veggies and I had to continue to educate myself on it. I was just eating a lot of rice, a lot of potatoes, a lot of all these things that were going straight to my stomach.
Did you know?
I did not. I mean, sometimes you're not looking at yourself.
Y'all look at yourself.
Yes, I mean, I look. You're in the mirror every day, but you don't realize you got a belly. I didn't have a huge belly, but you could tell I had a belly on me. So I was like, you ain't ever saying that again to me. Yo, so the next day she saw me, I was at Herman Park running, and I just went down this whole path of like, I'm going to still stay plant-based, but I'm going to do it in a cleaner way. So we even have more options today to do plant-based. There's just a bunch of options, like even mushrooms, like looking up different recipes on how to cook mushrooms, and they taste really good. Like if you do them well enough.
Mushroom fan.
I know I wasn't either, but I think if you do it in a way that matches your palate, your flavor palate, how you want it, it just takes time. Like for me, I just had to keep experimenting with it. But there's a lot of different ways to do it. You can saute them, but it has to be the right mushrooms. Oyster mushrooms. There's portobello is more like a steak. People use those for like a steak substitute.
That's more meaty feel, and I'm like,
yeah, it is, but it's about how you cook it.
Okay.
It's not. I mean, you can. I think if people want to, they're going to make that leap. We're just foodies. We're just food people, especially the Black community. Like we are very centered in flavor, texture matters. Those things to us, like if we have to like forego that, it's just not a good experience. And I feel like I feel like it should be a good experience, but also I think that we have to divorce ourselves from the idea that eating healthy is boring or you're foregoing taste and flavor, and you're not.
I'm triggered, bro. I'm
not.
triggered. Mad years ago, when I first lived in New York, I was being trained by the Mad Trainer. Shout out to Jamel. He was training me and a few other artists and creatives in the game. And he used to always say, eat for fuel. It's not supposed to taste good, and I just can't. It doesn't compute for me because, you know, Southern food, comfort food.
Yep.
That's something that we have a relationship with food in a space that just, it tastes good.
Yep.
It's an experience, you know. Food is the centerpiece of every cultural experience that I personally know.
Yep.
You know, and so, and I can cook really well, but I cook really well what I know. And even when I'm experimenting, it's in that space. And so I think when I think about the different substitutions and things, like even when you were saying other binding agents outside of egg, I'm like, I don't know, Doc. I don't know about that, but I get it, you know. And I think that there's a hesitation with that you're compromising, you know, flavor. But beyond just the flavor, that you become dependent on someone that has done the work to, you know, figure out how to cook something where it has the same feeling or that it still tastes good, as opposed to, okay, now if I make this life decision, start on this journey, how long do I go before I'm able to cook well enough with under the new guidelines? I don't want to say restrictions, but under the new rules.
Yeah, and I think it's a just kind of trial and error. I think if you're a good cook, you're gonna cook. You're gonna find a way to make things taste well. Like good cooks, you find a way to make it taste well, even if you're kind of doing trial and error.
Yeah.
But I never thought about it in that way, or it didn't discourage me, I guess. Like I messed up a bunch of dishes, and now I can almost anything. I don't even think about it. I just do it because I've done it so much. You know what I mean? Like even I sound like my grandparents. My grandma used to, but my grandma would just cook. In her recipes, she didn't write any of her recipes down, which I wish she did, because there's so many things that she cooked really well that nobody in the family can mimic that. And so I am also being intentional about writing down my recipes and taking my time, which I'm going to put out soon. Like I am going to do like a recipe book, because a lot of times we get feedback on the podcast, like people like step by step on how to do it, because a lot of people want to know, like they do want to do it. And I think I'm doing a disservice to the guests by not putting that out there. But I also want to be mindful, like my recipes too, nobody steals them. So I got to make sure it's all protected and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I want to request just a conversion chart. Like, y'all don't need your recipes, but if you could tell me instead of eggs, use this.
Yes. Yeah.
This will do the same thing as that. I think that'll be.
Yeah. So there's chickpea juice is a binding agent.
Chicks.
Yes.
That don't sound good. That don't sound appetizing.
So when you cook with eggs, do you taste the egg when you're mixing cake, or you don't taste the egg,
but you can tell when it's missing.
I don't know.
It's like butter. You could tell when it's like I don't know. I don't know. Butter in this.
I don't know. I mean, I think some things you can, like, but most things, like, I made a red velvet cake, no eggs. It was fluffy. It was great. I think it's about how you do it. Yeah. Like, I think that you can do it. Like, and also, I think about, I guess the thing with it is, like, we can't have everything. You get what I mean? Like, if we're like focused on, like, if one piece of it's like, all right, I can tell there's not butter in here. Is that really a huge, like, but if it's really good.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Like pound cake.
I've had some good vegan pound cake.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I've had some good ones. Like I've tried, there's a bakery here. They're amazing. I have their card. I'm going to bring them on here. I forgot the name of it, but it's a husband and wife. They have amazing. I just tried them at the rodeo. I'm going to think of the name and I'll post them up there when we go back and edit this. But you talk about their desserts, amazing. Like I'm not even a dessert person, but all plant-based. Amazing. They're so good. Even Crumble. Did you ever go to Crumble?
Yeah, I've been to Crumble.
Did you try their vegan stuff?
I didn't. I'm at Crumble. I'm like, I didn't feel like I had a reason to. I'm telling you, like the mindset was like, oh, everything is good. Everything's good. I went and just, it was time to do full checkups and everything. Happy to report, still good. But there is question and conversation about my blood pressure being borderline. And so, of course, the first response is, oh, let's put you on some medication.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, well, there has to be something else I can do. And I know it's not, my activity. I know, I'm working out, I'm doing the different things. And I don't eat really bad. If anything, the worst thing that I do from a dietary place is I don't eat enough when I'm in busy mode. But, that is something that I'm looking at, what can I do or introduce to my diet that may help with the blood pressure concerns. And so I've added like beetroot to my shakes, which is why when you said beets were a part of this Beyond Meat, I'm like, oh, okay, that may be another way that I can get it. Yeah, like eating the burger today did give me some encouragement in knowing, okay, that may be another way that I can get that in since that's supposed to help regulate that, But prior to that concern, man, I always, when I would see vegan option things, I always felt like, well, that's not for me.
Yeah. And even being plant-based, and it's not for everybody. Like you have to know your blood type.
Yeah.
So it's not for everybody. Like if you know your blood type, that kind of also is a good place to start for anybody that's like, I'm trying to figure out like what works in my body and what's the best diet for me. Some people need like a high protein diet. They need to eat lean meats.
Yeah.
Some people, it's more, they can do plant-based and be fine. Like, or some people can kind of do anything. I think O negative, a lot of moderation. Like if you're O negative, O positive, you can go plant-based, but some of them it's more so moderation because that's how it's your history, like your genes, your ancestry, like where you came from, and that kind of dictates like how you should eat.
Which is interesting because I did have a doctor some years ago prescribe a steak a week for me, But the most recent doctor that I had prior to my current one, whom I love, but when I even asked about my blood type, I think he preemptively knew that I was trying to have a conversation about, what I'm eating, what will work, and he got defensive. He was like, "Why?" I'm like, "Tell me my blood type." Like, you trying to hold my blood type hostage, So I do want to point out that, when you talk to your doctors and things like that, this is sometimes seeming like a contradiction to what it is that they want to do as a part of your healthcare journey. And I've had to kind of figure out, okay, well, you're not the doctor for me.
True.
If,
True.
You're not willing to help me figure out other ways beyond just jumping on medicine.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree. I think that there's a lot of things that you can manage, whether it's diabetes, whether it's blood pressure. A lot of times you can manage that. There are cases where it's a genetic challenge and you do need medications and things like that to manage certain things. But diet and exercise solves a lot of stuff. And even just stress. Like stress is like one of those things that manifests itself into disease. Like disease is basically dis-ease. Like if you think about the etymology, the root, if you take them, like it's dis-ease. Like it's the body's, there's stuff going on in the body.
Yeah. And
it's how we hold on to things, like holding on to stress. And
I'm a wordsmith, so I love that. I was thinking when you said that, thinking about, I've been very interested in old sayings. I think there's a lot of history in old sayings. I was trying to tell you earlier, and you're like, oh. But like for real, remember the old saying, like, you're going to stress yourself out. And I think that there's a lot of nuance and meaning that's missed because we've made this vernacular and colloquialism so common that we've forgotten the message within them, and but you can stress yourself to a point that you take yourself out.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
so yeah, and dis-ease that I had never really thought about that in that way, but absolutely.
I've started like lately, like looking at like the root of words and like
Yeah.
the etymology and just kind of going deeper into like what it actually means. And
That's where my name was birthed from, bro. When I was thinking about my life as a creative and going beyond just a talent and loving to sing or loving that I grew up in a musical family. And so you kind of just do this, and I grew up in church. And so if you were one of those that could do that, you were pushed to do it. But you really didn't think about the evolution of that, and especially not as a career path. Because growing up in church, it wasn't about monetization. It wasn't about it being a provision. It wasn't about it being a career. It was literally the gift that you owe God to help connect or take people into a worship of God. That's literally just what that gift was. So it wasn't about, what are you trying to do? This being an actual career path. Matter of fact, for us, it was not a real career.
Sure.
And so when it started becoming a thing for me and I understood what it was to be a brand.
Yeah.
This was before branding was popular. This was before social media and all those things. But I was learning, there's a brand, there's a responsibility, there's a mantle. There's people are connected to you now beyond just your ability to sing. It's all of it.
Yep.
My name came into question. I'm the second, named after my dad. And I wanted everything to have meaning. And literally, to be honest, when I started singing about music, my very first song that really did some noise was called Something More. And it wasn't about God. It wasn't, religious based. And so there was this whole it was extremes. You either singing gospel music or it's secular, it's
Sure.
R&B, you
Sure.
know? And so I remember when I got into that space, I felt guilty that me now being an R&B artist was going to lead people astray. I was, compromising my salvation, or that I was somehow fumbling the family legacy and things like that. And so I started looking to see, well, what name actually fits where I'm at? What name actually do I think will stand the test of time no matter where life goes, where, society goes, where just all these elements go. And as I was on that journey, I came across the definition of deep, which means to divulge lower than the surface level of meaning on any subject matter.
Yeah.
I was like, that's what it is.
Yeah.
I don't want to be bound by genres. I don't want to be bound by topics, what I can sing about, what I can't sing about. I don't even want to just be defined as just a singer. I wanted to be able to, my life to be able to explore and actually experience the totality of life within my level of reasoning, not somebody else's or whatever, And so when you talk about that, that's always been my posture. And so words have always had meaning for me in that particular space in that way.
Yep. You said something that's interesting that I've thought about a lot, and that is having to choose between secular and gospel, and how that's still a real thing today. And there's a part of me which life is not fair, but there's a part of me too where that just seems so unfair to me because you get what I mean? And that's just the first thoughts that come to my mind.
It's not even healthy. It's very scary, actually. Matter of fact, I'll go there. When we even met, it was at a time that I felt like living under because I basically went from one extreme to the other. So living under the thumb of this gospel mantle where everything meant you was going to hell.
Yeah.
So I didn't do anything. I was the idea of what you would think a church boy was. And then when I went secular, still even having limitations put on my creativity. I didn't do songs about sex.
Yeah.
But because I had abs, the labels was like, well, you take your shirt off.
Sure.
So my brand became sexy. My songs weren't. Even Something More. I'm saying I need more than a lover. I need more than a friend. I need more than a sister. I need all that you can give. And then our souls to intertwine. Always trying to figure out this navigation that ultimately put restrictions on my ability to be creative, which was crazy because I had chosen a life path that was supposed to be steeped in freedom and, in authenticity. And the crazy part about it is secular and gospel is nothing but just a public choice. Because the same things that you're doing as a gospel is the same things that you're doing as a secular artist, and you're just deciding whether or not you're going to talk publicly about it.
Wow.
or admit it. So now reality is what you've decided is just like a brand that you're living a lie, in my opinion, on either side that does a disservice for the people that are following you. Because when people are fans of gospel artists, is the reason why you feel so let down is because you have not allowed them, and maybe they don't feel free enough to show you their humanity. And inevitably that's going to come out.
Sure.
Inevitably that's going to be exposed. And so now you have almost this fumble of the platform that you've built. You've built this castle and you've built this fortress, and reality is music is a universal language.
Yeah.
It's meant to connect. It's meant to describe and explain what the living experience is.
Yeah.
But if it's confined, then you know, are you living a lie?
Sure.
Or is the art a lie?
Sure.
You know, and so it's unfair is a very good statement because it's unfair on both sides.
Yeah.
And when, like I said, when we met, I was in a place that I was like, okay. At that time, when I moved to LA, I was no longer pursuing solo artistry as deep. So I've already did the gospel side.
Yeah.
And now I've done this secular side. Now I've joined the R&B group and I've done all those things.
Yeah.
And now I'm here in LA and I'm starting to be in the space of creative directing and things like that.
Yeah.
And as alignment and purpose would have it, you know, I did get calls to be, you know, that kept me visible. So I was always, my career and my life has always tethered this line between visibility and purpose.
Yep.
So while there, though, because I wasn't in the front seat of being a secular artist or a gospel artist, I decided to wild out, or my version of wilding out. And so I began to like drink heavily, experimenting with weed. I saw movies like Frankie Lyman and Why the Fools Fall in Love. So certain things I just wouldn't do because I didn't want that to be about the R&B artist. My name is Donald Paige. So, you know, it was just certain things that I didn't do just because I didn't want that part to be a part of my story. Call it, you know, vanity. I don't know. But, you know, with those things, I started doing so to a degree to deaden the voices that were programmed from my churchhood. Yeah. That didn't allow me to do things that may have been healthy experiences for just a living experience. And so I think that it's unfair in the sense of you waste so much time not living life, but life is necessary. It is the most important component for authentic artistry. You typically see artists become their very best, create their definitive work when they're creating from a space that's so in tune and aligned with just their authentic life experience without the restrictions. But I live by nothing is happenstance. And while in LA for those 15 years, bro, like 10 of those years was me being in therapy. I didn't know it, but I was being therapized by working with these artists that were reaching points in their career that they were ready to take some very extreme pivots. When I first worked with B, she was making a big pivot and a statement with, you know, Precious Lord and having men singing background for her and things like that. And the list could go on of just about these people. And what I was unlearning was the restrictions of being a chosen creative with platform.
Yeah.
And then now learning how to do so without compromising I would say, integrity.
Yeah.
Without compromising integrity. And it's very interesting now with social media and the demands of putting things up and having daily content. For me, I was having an identity crisis and just a value crisis. I'll say for me, I can't say this applies to anybody else, but for me, I don't want to put it out if it's not excellent.
Sure.
You know, and so the path of excellence is expensive and it takes a while. It takes much longer than the demand of quick content. And so I was kind of found myself in that, well, if I can't do it that fast, I'm not going to do this. I'm not jumping on social media like that. I'm not letting people in my business like that. So let me just fall back. And so it took a while to be able to get to this other side where I realized that what was unfair about it was I had restricted me. I had allowed outside forces and opinions and things to restrict me. My relationship with God is my relationship with God.
Yep.
And my relationship with myself and my God self is my own relation. And being free of those things or those thoughts from other people has been the best thing for me. That's really what Birthright is about. The right to really live in the authenticity of my birth, the right to unite, the right to collab, the right to friendships, the right to disagree, the right to have a different opinion, the right to all of those things, man, the right to sex. things that I just told myself I couldn't even go and explore.
While you were just sharing that, I appreciate you. That's a lot, but also very powerful stuff that you just shared. So when you talk about like the 10 years in therapy and working with all these artists, and then finally giving yourself the right to just be and to show up in the way that you want to and put stuff out, where do you feel like that was like something that you were taught to restrict, or was it something that internally, like you felt like, not just, were you restricting yourself because of your own beliefs, or were you restricting yourself because of what you thought other people would perceive you as or judge you?
It's a combination of both. Black male church boy from the South with the gift preacher's kid. All of those things, those other outside things, the rules of being a black male in the South, you already know that boxing, our posture, how we're supposed to show up in space. Then add preacher's kid, a part of the church family. Then add, you come from this family that's a part of this choir, this legacy. And unintentionally, I don't even blame them. There was a season I was mad, but unintentionally, the lessons that they're teaching you, the things that they're teaching you at your most impressionable time,
Sure.
where you're building your values, it's hard to dissect. Is this how I really felt, or this is what I was taught? There's a combination. That's a shared window, and so I felt like, I don't want to go to hell.
Yeah.
And that's what it was, for anything, everything was, there was so much condemnation with anything that wasn't Jesus, 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 and then as the Jesus conversation progressed and you started learning more and saying, well, that's not his actual name?
Sure.
But then y'all say that there's power in the name, but we keep using the watered down version of it. So then you have this thing and it's all wrapped up. It's all wrapped up and is truncated into this space of faith. And by definition of faith, you're just simply to believe. You're not to question, you're not to ask.
Yep.
And so I think that's a hard thing to really consider. What's really me? What are my convictions? What is too far? I started pushing that envelope, G. Like, to be honest, to keep it like a bug, like, I started pushing the envelope of what I wouldn't do during that time.
Yeah.
Because I want to make sure, are those my restrictions? Or is that because church boy, really, what is that? And I had to find that.
What's interesting about that too is how that stuff, even though the intentions were good and how we're told who we are versus like us being able to figure out who we are and understand who we are, but people are pushing onto you who they think you should be, but not actually understanding who you are or even allowing that to evolve, but versus saying like, this is who you should be. This is how you should show up. Yep. This is what you are going to be. How it causes us sometimes, even in questioning that, we harm ourselves.
Yeah.
Whether it's like you're a lot of things you talked about, like going out, drinking a lot, all those things, like it's like trying to deal with it, but in this unhealthy way, which I know a lot of us do that because again, I say this a lot, like I feel like in our school system, one of the first things that we should be asked and start with is who you are. Who are you? Even in the home, like even starting in the home, every kid, like as soon as we're learning and developing and evolving, like, who are you? That should be the biggest question that we start out our childhood with. Who are you? Why did you come to this planet? That should be the foundation of everything. Versus domestication, like what domestication does across the globe, what domestication does is it teaches you fear and victimhood. That's it. And so we navigate the planet that way. We navigate the planet with fear and victimhood. Our choices that we make are typically centered around fear. And we talk about, and not to go down this whole rabbit hole on religion, but I grew up being afraid of myself. I grew up hating certain things about myself because the church told me that those things were not acceptable, or that if I did this outside of wedlock, or if I made these choices, that I would be condemned to hell. And so it puts this unattainable goals and these unattainable ideas that you're trying to reach.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? So
Yeah,
you're running after something that is not real. It doesn't exist.
And you hit two things on it for me when you said was the first question, and I remember like now just thinking the earliest question that I was ever asked about, I guess, identity was, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Mm-hmm.
And imagine as a child your limited scope of that. You know, you didn't even know about career paths.
Yep.
Or that career paths and new career paths would even evolve.
Yep.
And I think what comes from that is already then, well, if you want to be a doctor, you want to be a police officer, you want to be a fireman, because that was like a lot of the stuff earlier. Deep, if you want to be a singer, Little Donald, if you want to be a singer, you know, this is what it is. My mom gave me this paper that she found that I wrote for a scholarship years ago. And I said that I wanted to be a preacher. Lies you tell. Like, why do you have this paper? Because I do not. And, but I just, you know, that's what I knew. That's what I grew up under, right? You know, but I just think about, like, when you said having a child out of wedlock, that was something that happened to me right when I turned 21. I had a son 2 months later. And here's what's crazy about that, bro. It was the most freeing thing that ever could happen to me.
Really?
The thing that I was not supposed to do, the thing that was, you know, it was the most freeing thing, because after it happened and after I never felt abandoned, after life did not end,
Sure.
I was like, oh, wait.
Yeah.
That big old thing that I thought was that ain't nothing. Oh, I'm good. You know, and then I had an opportunity to show up differently than the way that I feel like my biological father showed up. I had an opportunity, but then also, I will say, even in that space, I started finding myself fighting the stereotypes of that. Oh, he a noob. He a pretty boy, and he got a child at 21. And he's singing R&B music now. And his shirt off. Oh, he a hoe. You know, it was like that.
Gamut.
It was all the things in it, you know, and so that did shape me, being like, oh, I don't want to sing about sex. I'm having it, but I don't want to sing about it because that's more of the stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it just wasn't healthy. But like really thinking about this thing that was keeping me in such imprisonment, like it's the one thing that truly freed me. I was able to say, you know, despite those things, you know, I'm able to live a full life, and I'm able to be, I'm a good dude. Like, yo, okay, you know, and then because also what that does to the child and the relationship that you have with the child is not good.
Absolutely.
Because they've told you that this was so bad. So now the fruit of this, you have to work through the mental debris of, oh, this was a mistake. What messages are you sending? How do you actually show up then as a father? Those are things that I had to just break the rules on, man. And so literally at that point, I started breaking the rules. You know, but imagine if those were never put on us. And I don't think, like you said, I don't think they meant to.
Sure.
They were doing things. I think about things that happened in generations before our time. And I say our because we close to each other's time. But like those generations, some of the things that they were putting on us was really to save your life.
I agree.
You know, I don't have time to explain to you why.
Sure.
Because you'll be lynched if you don't just, when I say move, move. And I remember my grandfather said that, and when I say move, move. God damn it, move. That was his thing, you know. And it was because of protection. I'm trying to save your life. You know, at what point do we say the things that our elders did because that's what they knew, that's the level of their capacity? At what point do we say, okay, I'm supposed to take that? They're not supposed to teach it and say it any different way because they're from their time. It's also not my role and my responsibility to look through my current lens and berate them with judgment. And try to apply where I'm at right now.
Absolutely.
Like, yo, no, take what you need to take and you sift that. And you take, you can evolve that and align that with where we're at. I think we're kind of right now, we've sunk into the sunken space where we're trying to destroy so much of the good that came out of some of those things that happened in our past, that us destroying that, us taking down those foundational things, some of those fundamental things, we're losing steps. And like we say, I told you, old sayings is on my thing right now. But like those who forget the past are destined to repeat it. And now we're looking around and we see ourselves in a state that I would have never in a million years thought that I would have seen us reach. And we've kind of went backwards. And I can't help but think it's because we've abandoned certain things that didn't need to be completely tossed out. They may have been needed to be modified.
Sure.
But I think that we got rid of a lot, and now we're finding ourselves just now trying to find our way back. My whole statement and my stance, my purpose, rebuilding the royal court. You know, being able, I saw you doing your thing, and I'm like, I know him. Why wouldn't I reach out and say, what's
Sure.
up, man? I see you doing your thing.
Absolutely.
You know, you pulling up to a show, and I'm looking at the audience, yo, what's up? You know, that's what we should be
Absolutely.
doing. And we've kind of gotten away from that. So I'm excited about seeing that we're having more conversations of people realizing like, yo, no, let me reach across the table and say, I know you. Like,
yes,
we're here.